Let's go over a bunch of ways that we can animate text in After Effects. I'll create a new composition. I'm going to go with, say, 20 seconds, frame rate 30. Let's go right up to our type tool and get started. Just click anywhere on the composition and start typing. I'll type transform plus position. And it's important to get off that type tool when you're done typing, or else it'll keep typing. So I'll go over to my selection tool and open up the layer that just popped in. And we're going to focus on the transform at first. So let's open that transform sublayer, and we have 5 properties. So I'm going to turn on position. Clicking on the stopwatch turns on the animation property, and you only have to do that once per property. I will scoot the time indicator ahead. I need a second keyframe to complete any sort of animation. I could scrub over these numbers to move right and left or up and down, but I can also go right into my composition and move it around this way. So maybe I'll just do a simple position move here. If I scrub my timeline, you'll see that we now have an animation. Transform position is moving from point A to point B in about 2 seconds. Let's go back up to the type tool. Let's do a different transform. Transform plus scale. Now let's go open that new layer and open transform. Let's turn on our scale animation. I need to move my indicator ahead to create a point B. Now I can change the scale, which is changing the size. I find it easiest to scrub over the numbers here. I could make it smaller or larger by scrubbing left or right. I'll make it really big. And now you'll see if I scrub for about 2 seconds worth, my transform plus scale is getting bigger. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to bring down the timeline on each one so I can kind of have one right after the other. So this is pretty great. You can just drag the timelines in of each layer. It's a nice feature. So now if I press play, this transform position and transform scale. So let's keep going. I'll start at about 4 seconds to start my third one. Let's try opacity. Open up that layer and turn on opacity. Move my time indicator ahead, and I will scrub left to make it invisible. I won't take it all the way down to 0. I'll make it almost invisible. So now we scrub from A to B, full opacity to almost no opacity. And let me adjust that timeline as well. Transform plus rotation. This is a fun one. We'll open up that rotation. So transform, rotation, turn that on. These are our rotation parameters. I need to scoot ahead for a point B. And then if I scrub to the right of that second number, it's rotating. I can also move it left to rotate left. I would like one full rotation. I could try to do that by hand, but it's kind of hard to land right on that. So it's one rotation and a little bit into the next. I'm going to set that to 0 because I just want one complete rotation. Let me show you. Here we go. There's our complete rotation. I'm going to show you the same thing, but with also animating the anchor. I'll explain how that works. So transform. I'll open that layer up, open up transform. See, we've done all these 4 here, but we haven't done anchor yet. So let's do it now. I'll turn on the anchor. I'll also turn on rotation. So they'll work in conjunction with one another. And then let me scoot up for a point B. I need to change 2 things. I'll start with my rotation. In fact, I'll just do one complete rotation. So I did that by typing 1 in. And then let's take a look at the anchor point. This is the anchor point. And the way that you can move that is by going to the anchor point tool. And now I can move it wherever I want. I'm going to move it all the way to the end. It lands in the same spot where the other one started. Because I animated the anchor point during the same time that I animated the rotation, it's kind of flying all over the place. So that's how that one works. Those are all the transform properties. Let me show you a couple text-specific properties. I'm going to type text plus animate fill color. I want to animate the text changing color. So let's open that layer. Instead of opening transform, we're going to open the text folder and then go over here to animate, click that arrow and go grab fill color, RGB. It automatically brought in this crazy looking red. That's okay, I'll change that. I'm going to turn on that fill color animation and start with a white. This is my point A. So I'll start with the white, scoot my time indicator ahead, and then go change the color to anything else. How about a bright orange? Like that. And this is what it did. From point A, I'll go slow, I'm scrubbing. It's basically animating from the color white to orange over a span of 2 seconds. Let's clean that up. Let me show you another one. Okay, let's open that layer up. Then go to animate again and select tracking this time. When you add things through the animate feature, it brings it in and calls it animator 1. That gets a little confusing if you do a bunch of these, but you can go in and rename those if you wanted to. For example, I'll click on animator 1. If I press the enter key, I can get in there to rename it. If I wanted, I could rename it tracking, so I won't be confused when I come back to it later. Anyway, so here we are. Let's animate the tracking amount. There's our point A. Scoot the time indicator ahead. I'm going to scrub over this number, and that animated our tracking. So from point A to point B, tracking being the space between each letter, increasing or decreasing. Let's do one more. This one's slightly different. I'll go back up to the type tool, type in text plus text source. Let's open our new layer up here. We're opening up text again, but instead of going to animate, let's see what this text source does. There's a stopwatch to the left of it, so I know that it's some sort of animation. I'll turn it on. And here, you might notice my keyframe looks a little different. The other keyframes are diamond shapes. This one's a square shape, and you'll see why in a moment. I'll scoot it ahead because that's my point A. And source means you can go inside that text box and change anything over here in the character palette. Let me try color first. So I'll go up to the color, choose anything. I'll choose a bright yellow. And instead of, take a look at your first keyframe, I'll scrub slowly, but no color change happens until you actually hit the next keyframe. That's why these are square shaped. They're different kind of animation. It's like a hard change. Well, I could change the font style. Maybe I'll change it to noteworthy. So now if I come back, I'll press play. So they're hard changes at these little square keyframes. And I'll try one more. You could also do something like all caps. And I'll press play. You'll see all of them. And there we go. So let me clean this up. I'll close that layer. Let's play and see what we have created here from the beginning. We've got a position. We're animating scale, then opacity, then rotation with an anchor point, fill color, tracking, and then the text source. As you can see, there are a whole bunch of ways that you can animate text in After Effects, and these are just few of many, many more.